whoever the nigga was that got out on my brother, they was already sitting there for like 10, 15 minutes. Since when do a motherfucker pull up there and sit for 10 minutes with tinted windows and don't nobody wash their car? Since when? Motherfucker pull up with tinted windows and don't nobody wash the car. Since when? Anytime a motherfucker ever been somewhere and you know it's shit going on, a motherfucker like, wash that car. It was so many of you bitch ass niggas out there on that camera. None of you niggas said, wash that car. You niggas knew what was gonna happen. And y'all waited. Y'all waited. I watched the video. I don't need no more motherfucking proof. You niggas waited. Didn't no motherfucker care to help. Nobody cared to help. You niggas watch that motherfucking car sit there for 10 motherfucking minutes. Listen, man. Motherfuckers wonder why I be feeling the way I be feeling. You hoe ass niggas. Bitch made ass niggas. Hey. I don't give a fuck who watching. Bitch, a bag better not get sold out there. A loose cigarette better not get sold. Nothing! And I mean that. I don't give a fuck who watching. And I know exactly what the fuck I'm saying, just in case you pussy ass police hit me too, because you motherfuckers not doing y'all job neither. Y'all don't care. Y'all don't give a fuck because y'all had issues with Tugg too. Every motherfucker that had issues with my brother can die. Fuck all you niggas. You hoe ass niggas. Y'all sat there and watched that whole motherfucking plate. The whole motherfucking plate. The whole plate.
This man has 38 minutes to live, and he will be shot during this Facebook live stream over a necklace.
I say, listen, bro, if they do come, let us park right here, you feel me? If they do come get me, we'll move the car so they can get the space. We will move our car, whatever car we need so they can get the space, just let us get the park. So now you, oh no, we can't do that. No, you just gotta find somewhere else to park. Who the fuck is you talking to? You feel me? Like, who the fuck is you talking to for real, even talking like that? Like, that be the shit, and that's what make a motherfucker be wanting to get into it with y'all, because y'all ain't got no respect. What's up, bro? What's up? Hell no!
From the moment the bullet tore through Kevin Watson's chest at 6:14 p.m. to the moment doctors pronounced him dead at 6:52 p.m., he had exactly 38 minutes. 38 minutes to be rushed to Mount Sinai Hospital. 38 minutes to tell his sister who betrayed him. 38 minutes before his 6-year-old son lost his father forever. Kevin Watson, known as Tugg, was an entrepreneur promoting parties and mentoring young people in Chicago's South Austin neighborhood. The killers? Still unknown. The evidence? Watson's blood-covered chain found at the scene with fingerprints, surveillance footage of a masked shooter in a white car, and a Facebook Live video that captured the moments before his execution. Millions would watch the video after his death. His 6-year-old son will grow up watching the video of his father's final moments. This is the Kevin Tugg Watson case. How does a man promoting positivity in one of Chicago's deadliest neighborhoods end up shot on camera in broad daylight during a Facebook live stream over a piece of jewelry? Subscribe to True Crime Doc to find out. Kevin Watson was 42 years old, a father, and someone who'd spent years rebuilding his life after being jailed at age 15. His biggest goal was mentoring young people in his community, showing them a different path than the one he'd taken as a teenager. He promoted parties, clubs, shoes, and dress clothes. He was an entrepreneur trying to make something of himself in South Austin, one of Chicago's most violent areas. According to his sister Shamika, Watson trusted people too easily. He was outgoing, always connecting with others, always willing to give someone a chance. His sister Talitha described him as someone who'd rather step out of his car to fight than pull a weapon himself. He'd changed from who he was as a kid. On August 13, 2025, Watson had just left a liquor store in the 5000 block of West Madison Street around 6:14 in the evening. He was sitting in his car, streaming on Facebook Live like he often did, connecting with his followers. He was wearing his signature Tugg chain, the necklace that bore his nickname and had become part of his identity. His last conversation with his sister would end 90 minutes before someone approached his car. He had no idea that people in his circle had already marked him. So how does someone who survived being incarcerated as a teenager, who built a business, who mentored kids, end up bleeding out in a hospital bed telling his sister he was betrayed? Would his 6-year-old son ever understand why his father died over a piece of jewelry? The killers remain unidentified as of January 2026. What we know comes from surveillance footage, witness statements, and the physical evidence left behind. This wasn't random. According to Chicago police, this was a targeted robbery, meaning someone knew Kevin Watson would be wearing that chain, knew where he'd be, and knew when to strike. According to Watson's sister Shomika, her brother said they backdoored me after being shot. In street terms, that means betrayal. People close to him, people he trusted, set him up. The attackers knew his routine, knew he'd just left the liquor store, knew he'd be alone in his car. Surveillance footage from nearby businesses shows at least one suspect wearing a black ski mask, leaning out of the passenger window of a white car. The vehicle pulled up to Watson's car deliberately, not by chance. Multiple offenders approached, according to police reports. They had one demand: the chain. Eyewitness Alvin Jackson saw the confrontation unfold. He reported that Watson was talking to someone before getting into his car. Then that person followed him and pulled a gun. Watson didn't back down. He wrestled for the weapon. The struggle was brief. The gun went off. The suspects fled toward the Eisenhower Expressway immediately after the shooting. The white car disappeared into Chicago traffic. Someone dropped the Tugg chain on the ground during the chaos, or maybe they realized it wasn't worth a murder charge. Either way, they left behind fingerprints and blood evidence that Chicago Police Area 4 detectives collected. But on August 13, 2025, whatever was inside those attackers, greed, desperation, or pure calculation, made them pull the trigger on a man who'd survived decades in one of America's most dangerous neighborhoods. Who were these people Watson trusted enough to let close? Were there warning signs everyone missed? Kevin Watson pulled into the parking lot at the 5000 block of West Madison Street around 6:14 in the evening on August 13, 2025. He'd just left a nearby liquor store. The location was familiar territory, South Austin, his neighborhood, where he'd grown up and built his reputation. He sat in his car and started a Facebook live stream, something he did regularly to connect with followers and promote his business. The sun was still up. It was a Wednesday evening. People were around. Watson didn't freeze. He didn't comply. Instead, he wrestled for the weapon, true to what his sister Talitha said about him preferring to fight rather than use a gun himself. The struggle was physical and intense. Two men fighting over a firearm in a parking lot in broad daylight. Watson was 4-2, but he wasn't backing down from someone trying to rob him of his chain, the necklace that represented his identity and his brand. The gun discharged during the struggle. The bullet struck Watson in the chest. The round tore through tissue and organ systems, creating the kind of penetrating trauma that emergency room doctors know often proves fatal even with immediate intervention. Watson collapsed. The Facebook live stream continued, though what it captured in those moments has become evidence in an ongoing investigation. Millions would eventually view portions of the video after it spread across social media. The shooters didn't take the chain. In their rush to flee, the Tugg necklace fell to the ground. Blood spattered across it. Fingerprints marked its surface. They left behind the very thing they'd killed for. The white car sped toward the Eisenhower Expressway, disappearing into Chicago traffic before first responders could arrive. Surveillance cameras from nearby businesses captured the vehicle's escape route, and at least one suspect leaning out of the passenger window wearing that black ski mask. Someone called 911. Paramedics arrived at the parking lot to find Watson suffering from a gunshot wound to the chest. They transported him to Mount Sinai Hospital, racing against the clock as he bled internally. At the hospital, medical staff worked to save him. Watson was conscious enough to speak to his sister Shomika. His words to her would become crucial to understanding this wasn't random. They backdoored me. He knew he'd been betrayed. He knew people he trusted had set him up. At 6:52 in the evening, just 38 minutes after the shooting, Kevin Watson was pronounced dead. Here's what didn't make sense. If this was a random robbery, why target someone in broad daylight in a parking lot with witnesses around? Why choose a location with surveillance cameras? Why leave the chain behind after killing someone for it? And there's something else. Watson told his sister people he knew had betrayed him. That means the attackers weren't strangers. They were close enough to know his routine, to know about the chain, to know where he'd be that Wednesday evening. But Chicago police haven't made any arrests. The case remains open. Someone with fingerprints on that bloody chain is still walking free. Did Kevin Watson know what was coming when that white car pulled up? What were witnesses thinking as they watched a man fight for his life over a necklace? Could anyone have stopped this? Why would someone Watson trusted set him up to die? If you were in that parking lot and saw the confrontation starting, what would you have done? Let us know in the comments. Chicago Police Area 4 detectives arrived at the 5000 block of West Madison Street to find a crime scene that told a clear story of violence. Blood pooled where Watson had fallen. Shell casings marked where the gun had discharged. The Tugg chain lay on the ground, covered in blood with visible fingerprints on its surface. Investigators collected the chain as evidence immediately. Those fingerprints could be the key to identifying who'd handled the necklace during the struggle. DNA from the blood would confirm it belonged to Watson. But more importantly, any other biological material on that chain could link directly to his killers. Detectives canvassed the area for surveillance footage. Multiple nearby businesses had cameras that captured different angles of the parking lot and surrounding streets. The footage showed the white car's approach, the confrontation, and the escape route toward the Eisenhower Expressway. At least one camera clearly captured a suspect wearing a black ski mask leaning out of the passenger window. What immediately stood out as wrong was the abandoned chain. Robbers who kill someone over jewelry don't usually leave it behind. That detail suggested panic, chaos, or the realization that they'd crossed a line they couldn't uncross. Eyewitness Alvin Jackson gave police a crucial account. He'd seen Watson talking to someone before getting into his car. That person followed Watson to the vehicle. Jackson watched the confrontation escalate from conversation to violence, saw the gun come out, witnessed the struggle, and heard the shot. Other witnesses in the area provided descriptions of the white car and confirmed multiple offenders had been involved. Their statements aligned with the surveillance footage. This wasn't a lone gunman but a coordinated attack involving at least 2 people. The contradiction with any potential self-defense claim was clear. Watson was sitting in his car when approached. He was the one who'd been followed. The aggression came from the people in the white car, not from Watson. Watson's sisters provided investigators with their brother's final words. Shomika revealed that Kevin told her they backdoored me, street terminology for betrayal by people in your inner circle. That single statement transformed the investigation from a robbery gone wrong into a targeted setup. Here's where the investigation hits a wall. Chicago police haven't publicly identified any suspects to interview. Without arrests, there's been no interrogation room confrontation, no initial story to pick apart, no lies to document. What investigators do have is Watson's own statement to his sister. They backdoored me isn't a formal police interview, but it's a dying declaration, legally significant because people facing death are presumed to tell the truth. The absence of suspects being questioned publicly doesn't mean detectives aren't building a case. The fingerprints on that chain are being run through databases. The surveillance footage is being analyzed frame by frame. The white car is being traced through traffic cameras across Chicago. But as of January 2026, no one has been brought in for questioning publicly, and no one has given their version of events to contradict the physical evidence. The forensic case against whoever left their fingerprints on that chain is strong. Blood evidence, fingerprints, and DNA create a trifecta that's nearly impossible to explain away. You can't claim you weren't there when your fingerprints are on the murder victim's necklace. Surveillance footage provides visual confirmation of the attack. The black ski mask shows premeditation. You don't accidentally wear a mask to a robbery. The white car's movements before and after the shooting established this was planned, not spontaneous. Gunshot residue analysis from the scene helps establish the shooting's dynamics. The trajectory of the bullet through Watson's chest, the powder residue patterns, and the location of the shell casing all tell investigators exactly what happened during that struggle. The autopsy confirmed Watson died from a single gunshot wound to the chest. The bullet's path through his torso damaged vital organs and major blood vessels, causing rapid blood loss that proved fatal despite emergency medical intervention. The smoking gun piece of evidence is that bloody chain with fingerprints. Whoever handled that necklace during the attack left their identity behind at the scene. There is no confession. Chicago police have made no arrests as of January 2026, which means no one has admitted involvement in Watson's murder. The investigation remains active and ongoing. Detectives are working the case, following leads, analyzing evidence, and presumably getting closer to identifying the suspects captured on surveillance footage. But Watson's family is still waiting for justice. His 6-year-old son is still waiting to understand why his father died. The community is still waiting for someone to be held accountable. The silence from the suspects is strategic. You can't confess if you haven't been caught. But forensic evidence doesn't stay silent. Those fingerprints are talking, even if the people who left them aren't. How do you explain away fingerprints on a dead man's chain that was demanded at gunpoint? Why hasn't anyone confessed if this was just a robbery that went wrong? What is the one thing police are waiting for before making arrests? No charges have been filed because no arrests have been made. When suspects are eventually apprehended, they'll likely face first-degree murder charges in Cook County, Illinois. First-degree murder during the commission of a felony, in this case, armed robbery, carries a mandatory sentence of natural life in prison in Illinois. Additional charges will likely include armed robbery, unlawful use of a weapon by a felon if the suspects have prior records, and potentially conspiracy if prosecutors can prove the attack was coordinated between multiple people. The potential sentence is life without parole. Illinois abolished the death penalty in 2011, so the maximum punishment available is spending the rest of your natural life in Stateville Correctional Center or another Illinois maximum security prison. No plea has been entered because no one has been charged. But when arrests happen, Cook County prosecutors will have video evidence, forensic evidence, and witness statements to build their case. When this case eventually goes to trial, prosecutors will build their theory around targeted robbery and betrayal. The evidence package practically prosecutes itself. First, they'll present the surveillance footage showing the white car's deliberate approach, the masked suspect, and the coordinated attack. Jurors will see this wasn't random, it was planned. Second, the bloody chain with fingerprints becomes Exhibit A. Prosecutors will bring in forensic experts to testify that those fingerprints belong to the defendant, that the blood is Watson's, and that there's no innocent explanation for why the defendant's prints are on a necklace taken during a murder. Third, eyewitness Alvin Jackson will testify about watching the confrontation unfold, seeing the gun, witnessing the struggle, and hearing the shot. His account corroborates the physical evidence. Fourth, Watson's dying declaration to his sister, "They backdoored me," establishes this was a setup by people Watson knew. That eliminates any claim of mistaken identity or accidental confrontation. Fifth, the medical examiner will explain the gunshot wound's lethality and the rapid timeline from injury to death, establishing that Watson had no chance of survival once that trigger was pulled. The strongest argument prosecutors will make is simple. You don't wear a ski mask, approach someone with a gun, demand their chain, and shoot them in the chest during a struggle unless you're willing to commit murder to get what you want. Defense attorneys for the eventual suspects will face an uphill battle. The evidence is overwhelming, but they'll try. One possible strategy is arguing the shooting was unintentional, that during the struggle for the gun, it accidentally discharged. They'll claim this was felony murder, not premeditated execution, hoping for a lesser charge. Another angle might be challenging the fingerprint evidence. Defense experts could argue the prints were planted, contaminated, or misidentified, though that's a tough sell with modern forensic standards. If multiple defendants are charged, expect finger-pointing. The shooter will blame the driver. The driver will claim they didn't know anyone would get shot. Each defendant will try to minimize their role while maximizing their co-defendant's culpability. The defense might also attack witness credibility, suggesting Alvin Jackson couldn't see clearly or that his account is unreliable. They'll point out that surveillance footage doesn't show the actual trigger pull, only the before and after. But here's the problem with every defense strategy: those fingerprints on that bloody chain. You can't explain those away with "I didn't mean to" or "it was an accident." You touched the chain. The chain was at a murder scene. Watson is dead. The case remains open with no verdict because no trial has occurred. As of January 2026, Chicago Police Area 4 detectives are still investigating, and no arrests have been publicly announced. Watson's family continues to call for witnesses to come forward with information. They are offering to help police identify the people responsible. They want justice for Kevin and answers for his 6-year-old son. When arrests eventually happen, if they happen, the trial will likely be months or years away. Cook County's court system is backlogged, and murder cases take time to prosecute properly. But the fingerprints don't have a statute of limitations. Neither does murder. Someone will eventually answer for Kevin Watson's death, whether that's in 2026, 2027, or beyond. How do you defend someone whose fingerprints are on evidence at a murder scene? Does "I didn't mean to shoot him" even matter when you approached with a gun and a ski mask? Do you think whoever killed Kevin Watson deserves life in prison? Or is there any possible defense that justifies this? Drop your thoughts below. The killers are free. As of January 2026, they are walking around Chicago, knowing they took Kevin Watson's life and got away with it. For now. They are watching the news, checking social media, wondering if those fingerprints on the chain have been matched to their records yet. Kevin Watson's 6-year-old son is growing up without a father. He'll have to navigate childhood, adolescence, and adulthood with only memories and that Facebook Live video that millions of strangers have watched. Watson's sisters, Shamika and Talitha, are living with their brother's final words echoing in their minds. They backdoored me. They know Kevin was betrayed by people close to him, but they don't know who. They are stuck in limbo, waiting for Chicago police to make arrests, waiting for closure that may never come. The South Austin neighborhood where Watson was killed remains one of Chicago's most violent areas. Just 48 hours before Watson's murder, 26-year-old Brandon Maxey was gunned down on the same block in an apparent drive-by shooting. 2 homicides in 2 days on one block. Watson's family held memorials and have kept his memory alive on social media. They've used his death to call attention to the violence plaguing South Austin and to encourage witnesses to speak up instead of staying silent. The community response has been mixed. Some people shared the Facebook Live video, spreading awareness of Watson's murder. Others criticized the viral nature of his death, arguing that sharing the video disrespects his memory and traumatizes his family. Chicago police haven't announced any policy changes resulting from this case. It's one murder among hundreds in a city that recorded over 600 homicides in 2025. Watson's death became a statistic in a larger pattern of gun violence that seems unstoppable. But Watson's sisters refuse to let their brother be forgotten. They continue posting about the case, sharing his photos, reminding people that Kevin Watson was a father, a mentor, an entrepreneur, and a man who'd turned his life around only to have it stolen by people he trusted. We still don't know who pulled the trigger. Chicago police haven't publicly identified suspects, which means the fingerprints on that chain either haven't been matched or investigators are building a case before making arrests. We don't know who in Watson's circle betrayed him. His words, "They backdoored me," confirm he knew his attackers or at least knew he'd been set up by people close to him. But we don't know their names, their motives beyond the chain, or why they thought killing Watson was acceptable. What could have prevented this? If Watson had driven away instead of wrestling for the gun, would he be alive? If he hadn't worn the Tugg chain that day, would someone else have been targeted? If witnesses had intervened when they saw the confrontation starting, could Watson have been saved? The systemic issues this case exposes are profound. Chicago's South Austin neighborhood is trapped in cycles of poverty, violence, and trauma that no amount of policing seems to solve. Kevin Watson tried to break that cycle by mentoring young people, by building a legitimate business, by turning his life around. And he was murdered for a piece of jewelry. Could this have been stopped? What does justice even look like here? Kevin Watson was 42 years old when someone he trusted set him up to be robbed and murdered over a chain necklace. He died telling his sister he'd been betrayed, and his killers are still free. The haunting question about this case is simple. How many people in Watson's circle knew what was going to happen that day? How many people stayed silent while someone planned his murder? And how many are still staying silent while his 6-year-old son grows up without answers? Next time on True Crime Doc, we're covering a case that just broke this week. You won't believe what happened. Subscribe to True Crime Doc for cases nobody else is covering yet. We drop the freshest, most twisted true crime before anyone else touches it. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss when we drop the next one. Rest in peace, Kevin Tugg Watson. Your story deserves to be told.